Whether you're a Fortune 500 firm or a startup, you need to have an effective digital content model which is designed to go out and attract new prospects to your firm and build stronger relationship with your customer. This video will overview a digital content model used by many companies. So if you think about content, it's like trying to get a drink out of a fire hydrant. We have millions and millions of pieces of content that are coming at us every single day on all sorts of different topics. And when we start looking at specific topics, whether it's for our business or for our personal lives, we don't know whether we're reading real news or fake news. We don't know if it's coming from a credible source. And we don't know if it's something we should trust. Is this a thought leader? Is this someone who really knows what they're talking about? And should we use that content to make our business and our personal decisions? And so one of the roles that is really useful to think about is to help your markets filter and focus on the information that's highly reliable and that is something that they can base their decisions on. And so what we want to do is to become an influencer, we want to be able to bring in content from the outside, filter it through, and then focus our high-value customers and our prospects on the information that will be most valuable to them. So this is a really good definition of content curation. Content curation is the process of sorting through vast amounts of content on the web and presenting it in a meaningful and organized way around a specific theme. In other words, it's not necessarily creating content, although we'll do that, but it's finding a good sources of content on different topics of importance to our high-value markets, and then going through and giving that to them in a way that they want to consume it, which means maybe we put it into a blog, maybe we take it directly to them with a tweet or a retweet. We might also put out a video about this particular piece of content. But the key is to go through and filter out the bad stuff, focus on the great stuff, and give that in a way to our target markets in a way that they will be able to use it. And so the digital content model actually has several components to it. First off, we will be creating content. It might be putting out a blog. It might be producing an article, an ebook. It might be putting out a podcast or a vlog, a video log, or a video. But when we create the content, what we want to then do is market it very aggressively. Just because we created it doesn't mean our market will realize that we've done that. And so we want to market to them through all of our social sites like our Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, and others, WeChat, to let them know that we've created this content so the market becomes aware of it. In addition, we are going to curate content. This is where the filter and focus part comes in. What we want to do is we want to filter through topics that are important to our target market. Maybe it's areas that we don't have a lot of expertise in, but we know that our market wants it, and we will curate the best content from the thought leaders to them. And part of what we're going to do is accelerate that. In other words, we are going to do retweets, or we'll make comments on it, or we'll take an article that a really thought leader has put onto Twitter, and we'll take that and we'll move it up to LinkedIn, or we'll move it over to Pinterest. We'll somehow help accelerate their message along to give them, fame and fortune, if you will, as well as have a more consistent content stream going out to our high-value markets. For everything we do, we're going to put that into a curated content library. And the reason that is so important is that just because we create something and market it, we're only going to be going to a small percentage of the total market. So what we want to do is to curate that in our library, and then we want to go back to it periodically to remarket it. In other words, we may publish a blog, in January. Well, we ought to revisit it then in June and maybe again in October. And so we can keep going back to this because we've only penetrated a small part of the total market and people forget. And so bringing back things, we'll market it all periodically, which could be curated content or ones that we originally create. And then what we want to do is when it becomes irrelevant, it becomes old news, we'll delete it. So the curated content library may contain things that we've gone back to many, many years. For example, if you have an infographic, You may be able to use that for 5 years or more, where other things will just last a shorter amount of time, but we keep it until it becomes irrelevant. And while it is relevant, we want to market it. And so we continually put things out to keep a content stream flowing to our high value markets. And ideally, we want to do it every day by mixing together curated content with information and content we create. And so if you're a startup, one of the things I like to talk to startups about is the concept of networking forward. In other words, before you even get your company launched, you already know what you're going to be making or creating. So go ahead and find the thought leaders and start a stream of curated content going out on Twitter and LinkedIn and WeChat and Instagram to begin to build your base. And use the curated content to get a market already around your company. And then as you start to firm up your business plans, then you can start creating content to make it work. A lot of my students will have hundreds, if not thousands of followers, simply because they're taking the best of the curated content and moving it out to a market. And every time they do that, more people begin to follow them. They become an influencer in the market simply because they know really great sources of information to move out. So people are always looking for content. You become the curator of it, and the market will be attracted to you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or ask the question through Twitter, and I'll get right back to you. Thank you.